It is
We are back.
155 of the Metal Roundtable. I am Metal Rob, and with me, as always, is the great
Carcass John and
Today I changed my name once again. It's Scott
hang on,
Evil or Divine Waters
There we go. Take the banner down so we can see it.
to go with today's theme.
hi.
How are you boys on this Tuesday?
Oh,
Much better than last week.
Oh, same, dude.
Yeah,
Holy cow.
Sorry, guys, we canceled last week. I was sick as a dog. I was going to try and muddle through it anyhow, but talked to Rob, and he wasn't doing good either. So I'm like, all right, good, because I ended up going to bed like at 8 o'clock that night and crashing for 12 hours.
And we're both still fighting a lingering cough.
Yep. So pardon me if I cough. Nothing I can do
well,
about that.
I'm fighting old age today because I helped Steph move, and thank goodness for guys from work and a couple of guys from church. Otherwise, I'd really be hurting today. But I feel every muscle and bone joint in my body today. So I should shout those guys out because, man, oh man, we'd still be moving boxes at this point, and we started on Saturday. So anyway,
man, yeah, but that's awesome that you helped the Metal Queen move. So
that's right. She is awesome, and she's at least all the boxes are there. So now it's up to them to to rifle through everything. So
yes.
Anyway, yep. Thanks to those dudes.
I would like to give just one quick shout out, and then I'll let you guys do your thing. I'm still situating things, and I will continue that while you guys do your shout outs. But I want to shout out one person in particular today, and that is Spicoli, because Spicoli loves us and we love him. And as soon as I put something on Facebook that we're about to go live, he shares it. He always comments. He's an all-around good dude. He is a champion of metal, and we appreciate you very much. Also, while I was feverishly getting ready for the show, I looked up and saw that we had 35 comments, and that tells me one thing. Baron Von Headbanger is here. So I encourage you guys every time to go read the comments, because Baron Von Headbanger is telling funny stories in the comments. As soon as we make a post on Facebook or YouTube, he's lighting it up with funny shit. So go check
and
out.
He is lighting it up. I'll tell you that right now.
So shout out to Spicoli and Baron Von Headbanger. And let me see if we've got some quick comments that I can shout out real quick. My brother says hello. I've got one thing to say to you, brother. We'll address that later.
Oh.
We'll get there. Production value, building anticipation. Damien Hair Metal, Tony Clem. Fraser is here. Kevin Smith, what's up? Any Halloween stories? No, I turned off the light and hid the candy bowl as soon as my wife and stepson cleared the house to go do their thing. We're glad you're back too, Kevin. Scott, what shout outs have you got, brother?
Well, first of all, I got some big news that went out official today. Ex-members of Hyrax, who are now in the band Primal, are recording their second album, and they have signed for vinyl and CD release on No Life to Metal Records. So that will be coming out in early 2023. And it'll be mastered by this guy over here.
The master himself.
It was already done and approved by a Grammy-winning engineer. I'm just saying.
Yep. So looking forward to that. I don't know if I can't remember if I showed this or not, but while I was out in California a few weeks ago, we met up with Steve Gaines. Steve, of course, was the vocalist for Avatar and Bloodlust and has been playing with Anger is Art for years. He is also the brother of Steve Gaines, who some people might know. But anyhow, while I was there at the meeting, we were meeting with him about signing Anger is Art to No Life to Metal Records. I brought my CD with me and I had him sign it for him. And it's like, I'm never ashamed to get an autograph from, especially from a guy I consider a friend, which he is. So he signed my CD, which is always cool. I had the vinyl. I would have taken the vinyl, but then I would have had to carry it around with me. So I didn't want to do that. And I got a couple new things I want to show off real quick. This was a suggestion by a friend of mine. ZZ Top Raw.
I have
This
that
is
on vinyl. It's great.
yeah,
Dude.
that little. This is a soundtrack. I didn't realize it was re-recorded stuff, and it is raw, just like they say. It's just them in the studio jamming.
Yeah,
Really
it's
kind of
actually in
enjoyed
that
it.
pool. I think it's in that ballroom in Green,
Green.
Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I
Yeah,
think so too.
it's got a nice track listing as well. A lot of older stuff on there, so that was cool.
It's awesome. I'm gonna excuse me while I step off screen for a minute.
No problem. Picked up a few cassettes. This one actually I have never seen this one on cassette before, so I snatched it up as soon as I saw it. But this is Raven, One for All.
Oh wow, that's a score.
Yeah, it is a Russian pressing, so I'm assuming it's probably a bootleg. But
Yes.
not necessarily though. This was pressed back in 1999 on Wizard Records. And I mean, they could obviously print whatever they want, but it actually says licensed from Massacre Records. So
it very well could possibly be. I mean, anything after the wall came down obviously has a good chance of not being a bootleg, but anything.
And I've been trying to get this one back into my collection ever since I got rid of it many moons ago. But the first TT Quick EP, which I have a couple pristine copies on vinyl, but to get the cassette copy was difficult. And then a buddy of mine gave me this one.
Oh, nice.
Ryan cassette single. So
I sent you something yesterday as well.
Cool. And then two more things real quick. Let's see what you guys say about this. Sorry.
What's up, Greg? You have a sexy bald head as well.
New striper.
I got nothing to say about that.
I did pre-order the new striper, so there it is. All right, all yours.
Well, let's see. Fraser asked me, "Do I want the Astros to win the World Series?" Yes. I don't want Philadelphia to win, so yeah, I guess I'm for the Astros. When I had a business down there in Houston, a lot of my clientele were Astros players, so I got to be pretty good friends with them. And yes, of course, I would want them to win. So yes, I do want Fraser, I do want the Astros to win. Like Scott, and let me give those shout outs right now because I think this is really important. These guys basically went out on a limb on a Saturday and provided a service to someone who really needed the help. So shout out to Pete DeWall and shout out to Alex Novak and shout out to Ramsey Tuita and his good son that came out, and shout out to Carlos Torres, shout out to Jorge Soto, Asuncion Munoz, and Hernan Castillo. Man, I don't know if some people are just better at certain things than others. These guys, we had from house to house, it was about 3 hours, and then some miscellaneous things. So shout out to them. Thank you very much. I too picked up some new things, including the new Exhumed, and I bought the cassette, and man, this thing absolutely rips. If you're into that, it's the Matt Harvey thing. It is really blisteringly good. I found a band from Buffalo, New York called Undeath. I really like it. It's heavy, old school death metal. I found, speaking of H-Town, I found Oath of Cruelty on cassette, which is really fun because I didn't have it on cassette. I just had it on vinyl. That's a ripper too. And I don't know. I picked up a few other miscellaneous things, but the bottom line is thanks to those dudes for helping out. Like you said, the Metal Queen is now in her new home and acclimating quite well. And I have actually been moving some things out of the collection rather than so many things in, but I did add those little items. And including here, shout out to Aaron and Kira with the Generation X cassette, which is Billy Idol's former band back in the day. So that's kind of a rare find. But other than that, I don't really have much.
What the hell does your shirt say? I can't. I've been trying.
You're not gonna get it. It's called the band is Brain Famine.
Oh yeah,
a grinding death metal band from the Massachusetts area, and they are freaking spectacular. I really dig it. Me and the heavy. and I've got more of them on the way. So I can't wait for the next few weeks to see you stumble all over yourself trying to figure out what the shirt says.
And let me ask you this: what the hell is up with this? Wild man, long hair and facial hair you've got going on? You look like you've been on an episode of Alone.
Well, no, actually, it's helping me not be alone. Quite honestly, there's somebody who really likes the rough and rugged carcass, so I'm gonna continue growing it out and see how it looks. Now,
is she in the room with you right now?
No, she's not. No, she absolutely isn't. But
okay,
I think she's
get her to say hello.
I think she's watching. If she is, she'll chime in.
I am so sorry about that.
That's okay. But when I was in college, this is the last time I actually had a full beard was in college, which is a couple years ago, and it was almost all red, and on the sides, and then I noticed where it used to be red is a little more white, gray even. So anyway, what? Carcass looks like Scott Stapp's stunt double. No, that's not the look I'm looking for.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh, that's funny though.
And yes, Frazier, we are aware of
James Rivera's new project.
Metal Wave. Oh, very nice. We're getting solicited by girls69.xyz.
I wonder what that's all about. I don't have any clue.
All
right, Papa Wayne is in the house. Oh, I did see Mark Massacre from Australia in the house earlier on, so that's cool. Yeah, we're getting all the band back together here, so it's kind of fun.
So Frazier's talking, and we'll get to the topic right now, but Frazier is alluding to Metal Wave, which is James Rivera side project, and it's cover versions of new wave songs, but like Hellstar kind of would do it, metal. Metal versions of new wave songs. It's pretty cool. It's coming out on Massacre. I got the call to master that, which was amazing. Stoked about that. So good Lord, they're killing us in the comments.
Oh, when you say new wave, are you talking about new wave like Flock of Seagulls new wave, or are you talking about the new wave of British heavy metal?
No. New wave songs. Love my way, love your way.
Oh yeah. Psychedelic Furs.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. New wave, 80s new wave.
Oh, that's very cool.
Gary Newman, stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. So anyway, let's get into the topic. We're nearly 20 minutes into the show, and we are here today on episode 155 to talk about some things DIO. And we are not going to just run down, we're not talking about our top 5 favorite or best or however you want to do it. I do favorite. I don't necessarily think these are the best, but they're my favorites. We're going to talk about anything that Ronnie James Dio sang on. And we're going to do from 5 to 1. It can be Sabbath, it can be Rainbow, it can be Elf, it can be anything that he was a part of. So
doo-wop.
Yeah, doo-wop. Would you guys like me to kick this thing off?
Kick it.
Number 5.
In order, number 5 for me.
Just do number 5, and then I'll do number 5, and we'll see if any of them line up or not.
Number 5. I absolutely love Dio's Killing the Dragon album.
So do I.
What usually happens for me is when I see a band on tour and have that CD.
Exactly.
It just cements the whole thing for me. I know that this is going to be heresy. People are going to laugh at a couple things that I leave out, but this is a Dio metal album. I absolutely love it. I believe Doug Aldrich plays guitar on this. Saw the tour in Dallas, and it's just a fantastic album.
Saw that tour as well. I think it might have been Tesla opening up under a different name.
Are you sure it wasn't Motorhead, Iron Maiden, and Dio?
I saw that tour as well.
No, I don't remember.
I've seen Dio so many times I can't even tell you which is which anymore.
That's what I remember, and I just remember Doug Aldrich wearing a jumpsuit and just absolutely shredding with this gold glittery guitar. But anyway,
Yep, I
I
saw that show
digress.
too, and saw that one in San Antonio. Sorry.
No, that's all right. This is a really cool one. It's got Ronnie on vocals, obviously, Jimmy Bain on bass, Doug Aldrich on guitar, Simon Wright on drums, and Scott Warren on keyboards. But two of my very favorite Dio songs of all time are on here. Scream and Push. Absolutely fantastic. By the way, Chris Manning is watching. It's good to have you, sir. What's your fifth one, Scott?
All right, here it goes, and it's for the same reason that you showed the one you just showed. Dio was touring. He was playing a really little club in Albuquerque, and literally a country club, like country music club. And I found out he was going to be playing this new album in its entirety, so I just immersed myself in it so that I knew the entire album, and I've loved it ever since. And after seeing it live, like you, it just cemented that. But Magica by Dio, yeah, it's his concept album, his story album. I actually grabbed the single that came with it too. This is the Annika single, but in any case,
Wayne, it's Killing the Dragon.
Yep. So I went with Magica, and it's for that same reason. I mean, I've seen him live probably as Dio probably 10 times. Seen him 3 times with Heaven and Hell. Never did get to see him with Rainbow, but yeah. So that's my reason for it. I still love that album. I listen to it quite regularly. So there you go. That's my number 5. What do you guys to say there?
My number 5 is Live Evil, Black Sabbath. It's one thing to be able to sing in the studio, but it's another thing to be able to pull it off live. And I stumbled across this import cassette on Vertigo, and man, I love this. It's one of my top live records ever, but the set list is incredible, and Dio sounds as authentic as he does on the albums. So Live Evil, Black Sabbath is my number 5.
And I gotta say, every time I saw Dio, he was always on his game. He always sounded fantastic.
Yeah,
but even into his, where he was nearly, shall we say, nearly going on to the next plane, nearly dead, and he was still just killing it live. I mean, it was crazy.
Absolutely, but have you ever heard that Live in New York album? Because that particular album, he sounds tired, and that's the only thing I've ever heard him weak on. And he admits it. I was weak and tired in that album, so I was sick.
Is that the Radio City Music Hall one?
Yeah.
No. That's Heaven and Hell. I'm talking Dio Live in New York.
Oh, okay. I don't guess I may not have that one, but
actually I did pull that one out. I couldn't decide on my number 5 whether it was going to be that one or this one. This is such a great live album.
Oh, dude, I'm getting there.
It's all Black Sabbath. So anyhow, I'll put it down and we'll go on.
And talking about Live Evil, the thing I like about Live Evil is it is just a phenomenal sounding live record. You get all the Dio Sabbath stuff live with Ronnie's amazing voice, but you also get so much Ozzy stuff. And I think it's cool to hear him sing that. So, yeah, that's a good one. All right, number 4.
Number 4 for you is?
Number 4 for me is, and this is I'm not going to give that away. Last in Line.
Can't go wrong with Last in Line.
I mean, you can't. Yeah. Man, I was back and forth because he sang on so much stuff. But
are you sure that's not Holy Diver?
What's that?
Is that Holy Diver?
Oh, that is Holy Diver. Oh, you said Last in Line, though. And I said Last in Line as well.
Did I say Last in Line?
You did, and I repeated you.
Oh, sorry. No, this is Holy Diver, obviously. But Stand Up and Shout is great. Holy Diver is great. Don't Talk to Strangers, Straight Through the Heart, Rainbow in the Dark. I mean, there's just so many hits, if you want to say that. Videos from this album. This, to me, was when he was at the height of his 80s power. And I just love this album. I don't have a ton of Dio solo stuff, to be real honest. I have this. I have Dream Evil. I have Killing the Dragon. I need Last in Line, but a lot of that other stuff I don't have. and I'll probably end up grabbing it, but for some reason, Dio just never. I loved him in Sabbath. I loved Rainbow stuff, but for some reason, some of the solo stuff just didn't catch me, and I don't know why. But that's obviously a fantastic record. So, what have you got at number 4, Scooter?
Last in line.
Yes.
And of course, you have the Japanese pressing, of course.
Yep. So last in line. My first time seeing Dio actually was on the Holy Diver tour. Played a little teeny club called the Tower Theater in Philadelphia, and Twisted Sister was opening. They were local favorites, so there was tons of Twisted Sister fans there. They had just put out "You Can't Stop Rock and Roll," and then the very next year, I mean, barely a year later, they sold out the Philadelphia Spectrum in like a day. And it was Twisted Sister on Stay Hungry tour and Dio on the Last in Line tour. So once again, it's one of those albums I saw live. I mean, he had that stage set up, that was just out of this world for that show. And I've just been a huge fan of that album ever since. But I honestly, I mean, I pulled this one too because I was struggling to which one to show. Either one of these could have fit into this number 4 slot for me.
Agreed.
They're both fantastic. I think the sound is very similar. The production is very similar. I mean, it's the same lineup. It's got that, the classic Jimmy Bain on bass and what's his name on guitar before he went all wonky. Come on, help me out with the guitar player's name. The guy who went on to Def Leppard. Thank you, Vivian Campbell, who was a total shredder. He was pretty much unknown before this, and then Dio made him a household name back in the 80s. So, and yeah, fantastic album. So I went with The Last in Line.
Well, I did. I struggled just like you, Scott. And I think Last in Line and Holy Diver could be like a nice double album package. And so anyway, but I went with Holy Diver only because of the song "Stand Up and Shout." Obviously, is a real rocker, and I love that. And Rainbow in the Dark, one of my favorites. So I went with this one because I think, to your point, it's classic Dio. It sounds solid, like kind of like The Last in Line. But I went with this one just because it was a coin toss, and
yeah.
So I went with it.
Back in the day, Rainbow in the Dark was a punch out for me. I didn't care for it, but over the years, it's really grown on me, and I think it's a rager, man. I freaking love that song.
Man. I remember that song playing on Metal Shop. You never heard Metal Shop without that song playing at least once. I'm sure you guys remember Metal Shop, right?
Oh yeah. I tried to get Charlie Kendall on the show, and he didn't respond to me.
I thought I had one. Here's the.
All right.
It was right behind me, so I didn't have to get up and look for it. But there's the picture disc version of that one, and that one.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, so we're at number 3. I'll catch up on some comments here in just a second.
No, sorry. Knocking things over.
Rainbow in the Dark solo is crazy good, indeed. So next, and this is number 3, and this is probably going to piss some people off because of what's coming next for me. At number 3, I have Heaven and Hell.
Why would I piss anybody off?
Well, because of what I have before it.
Yeah.
In the number 2 and number 1 spots. This thing to me, man, I know Long Live Rock and Roll is awesome. I know Mob Rules is awesome. But man, this thing just freaking Chris is pissed off.
Yeah, you've made him mad. You've made the guitar master mad.
Get out of here. I just love this record, man. Neon Nights, Children of the Sea, Lady Evil, Heaven and Hell, Wishing Well, Die Young. Oh, and there's still 2 more songs to go. Walk
Away, there's not a bad song on it.
No, man, this thing just rules. Produced by Martin Birch. It's just amazing, and it just put Sabbath squarely back on the map.
After 2, I mean, I like the last 2 Ozzy records that Sabbath did, but there's no doubt that this was here's my number 3. So there's no doubt that this album was a resurrection of sound for them. I mean, we have Geezer Butler doing a lot of the writing here. So you get that heavy. I mean, this is one of those albums I play air bass to. There's just so much great bass playing on this thing.
Yep.
It's such a great album, and it's so heavy metal, and it was a different sound for them, and it really brought Sabbath into the 80s. You know, they were no longer sounding like a 70s band here. They were definitely an 80s band, and this was 1980. So
Yep.
Well, it took them from a more bluesy, heavy, sludgy sound to a more true heavy metal sound, basically.
exactly.
I agree.
So, okay, well, I hate to disagree, but
You could that's what it's all about.
Mob Rules is my number 3, and we could say for all the same reasons that you picked Heaven and Hell as number 3. I think this. I mean, the Sign of the Southern Cross, The Edge of the World, Voodoo, Mob Rules. I mean, gee whiz! And once again, it's. I thought. Well, I can't tell you what I think because I am not to my other number 1 and number 2 yet. But I thought this was a good sophomore follow up to Heaven and Hell. It didn't lack for me. I mean, there's not a bad song on this one either.
Nope.
And once again, we have Geezer on and Vinny Appice or a piece or however you want to say it, and then Dio just cranking it out once again. And I think this, like Last in Line and Holy Diver, this could be a double album with Heaven and Hell.
Yep.
I agree.
But a little different look, kind of a scary, gory. I know that I was told to steer way clear of this, and this was gruesome and ugly. But I know the Hildebrandt brothers; they were famous for some of their fantasy stuff, including oh gee whiz, I can't even now. I can't think. I'm thinking about Dio, and I'm thinking also in a different language because I've been working all day. But I don't know. I love this record. And it's not because I like it better or worse than any other, but I just thought, in the scheme of the top 5, this was my top 3, or this was my number 3.
That one to me was always one that stopped me down in the record store. I always wanted to see what was going on with that cover. It just kind of freaked me out when I was a kid, but I just loved looking at it. And I kept a copy on vinyl because I've sold off most of my vinyl collection. But
Lord of the Rings is what I was trying to stumble over myself and say. The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, Hildebrandt.
Yeah, didn't he also do some of the Star Wars art?
He did some of the Star Wars art. He also did stuff for Star Castle and some other bands. So they weren't like, he wasn't like an unknown guy that just popped on and all of a sudden got a Black Sabbath cover. Mm-hmm. But anyway,
you're right, TJ. You're right.
Headless Cross is Tony Martin, though.
But Dio didn't sing on it. We still love you, though. Okay, numero dos. Okay, here we go. This could be controversial, but I think there will be those out there that will stand with me. I have a live album at number 2, Rainbow on Stage. So, like a lot of things that I found when record collecting, I know I had seen this. I probably knew about it, but maybe I'd heard it before. But through record collecting years ago, I picked this up on a whim. Just grabbed it for $5 or whatever it was, brought it home, put it on, and it is like you're sitting in the crowd listening to this. It is so well produced, and this is one of my favorite things. First of all, Ronnie's live at the top of his game. Also, you get those Rainbow songs. You get Kill the King. You get Man on the Silver Mountain, Starstruck, Catch the Rainbow, Mistreated, Still I'm Sad. And this deluxe version on CD comes with a bonus disc that's got essentially the same songs, but it also includes Do You Close Your Eyes? It's a live show from '76. Well, both of them are. But man, if you don't have this thing or you haven't listened to it, pull it up on Spotify. To echo what Chris is saying, Blackmore rules. Mistreated is awesome. This thing is just phenomenal front to back. And I believe side 2 of the vinyl is one song, if I remember correctly. Um, that's all right, TJ. You're in the VIP Velvet Rope section, baby. You can be wrong all you want. Anyway, number 2 for me is Rainbow with Ronnie on vocals on stage.
Number 2 for me.
Okay.
Mob Rules. I could easily switch this one with Heaven and Hell. They're both fantastic. The reason I gave this one the edge is because it's got one of my all-time favorite Sabbath songs on here, and that's "Sign of the Southern Cross." I just think that's an absolutely brilliant song. Faith's Warning does a cover that's fantastic as well. So again, I remember this thing. It was a big deal back in the 80s. This is such an evil cover, and they were looking for all these hidden messages. And look, there's an evil devil guy in here. If you really look real
you're
close.
going to hell.
But regardless, just a great album. Goes right along, like you said, with Heaven and Hell. So Carcass pretty much already said it all, so I don't have to say much to say about it. But yeah, my number 2 is Mob Rules.
Okay, well, my number 2, and Rob, I had that live thing in my hand too, and there's so many. I didn't realize that Dio had so much of a broad catalog with all these different bands, but I went ahead and went with Rainbow Rising. I don't know that any of our answers are technically wrong, but I went with Rainbow Rising because it's just a phenomenal record. It sounds great. Run with the Wolves, Starstruck, Do You Close Your Eyes, Stargazer. I mean, the whole record. It's start to finish is great. To Chris, this is my ode to Chris Manning, because the Blackmore playing is sensational. All the instrumentation is great. Once again, we've got Jimmy Bain. We've got Cozy Powell, who's one of my favorite power drummers, and he really holds the bottom end down. And then of course Dio is in complete rare form here, and it's almost like when we talked about Blackmore and John Lord and Deep Purple, that they would sort of like John Lord would play something and Richie would try to outdo him. I think the same thing can be said about this album. I think Blackmore was trying to be outdone by RJD with the vocal side of things, and it works. That little friendly competition, or maybe not so friendly competition, we can talk about that at a later date maybe, but this thing is just I can't say brutal because it's not, but it's like eloquent violence. It's just amazing. Like I said, the playing is superb. The song structure is great, and
it was
how can you not like it?
It was really hard for me to leave that one and Long Live Rock and Roll out of my top 5, but I was trying to get my favorites in there, and so that's tough to do. And I know Chris is watching. He's in the comments. We had him on for Deep Purple Talk a few weeks back. Chris, if you don't mind, put the link in the comments to your Bandcamp page, because I really need people to check out your music. So thanks to Chris for chiming in on the show today. Number 1, I know it's not Rainbow Rising. It's not Long Live Rock and Roll. This is the crowning achievement for me that Ronnie ever did, because this to me is a continuation of Black Sabbath without the name, the Heaven and Hell album, The Devil You Know. Absolutely phenomenal. This album to me is a 10 out of 10. Not that the others are not, but my favorite is this that Dio sang on. To me, it just continued Sabbath. I saw them at least twice on this tour. I think 3 times maybe. But I saw them once before the album was out, and I saw them once after the album was out. I think that's right. And
yeah,
holy cow!
You probably did, because they toured on that. They came out that Black Sabbath Dio Years 2 CD set, and they had 3 new songs on there. You remember that? That came out before that album. So they toured on that, and then they had that album out and toured on that as well. And then they had done one other tour before even all that, where they just did a reunion tour. There was nothing out. So
Yep.
Is that
Fraser,
the one
is
that has? Is that the one with the 7-inch black Bible or whatever that was called, or
Bible Black.
Yep. It's
Bible
hanging
Black?
right up there, framed.
Okay.
Bible Black.
I can't deny that that's a good album. I mean, I don't. I mean, honestly, did Dio ever put out like just a real Saint Anger or a real stinker or
No, I mean, he didn't have any stinkers. You know, as
he had
far
some
as
that
I
were
can
better
tell.
than others, obviously, but anyway.
But this was just badass, man. The stage show was awesome. The album
stage show
was fantastic. The
superb.
Live at Radio City Music Hall is just a 10 out of 10. So good. And it focuses more on the Sabbath songs. I don't think it's got any of this on it. I think it was before this came out.
And who's playing drums? Is that Carmine still?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you essentially have
it's got The Devil Cried on it.
Oh, okay.
But The Devil Cried was from that one of the new songs off that that compilation they did.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yep.
But
this thing's fantastic. I mean,
oh yeah, if you get that and this, you've got basically that era of, well, that's pretty much all there was. So I have an honorable mention, but I'll do that at the end. Scott, what's your number one?
My number one is a big shocking one. I've got a huge 5 foot by 5 foot flag of this thing hanging on my ceiling over there. It's one of my favorite album covers, one of my favorite albums. It is one of the 70s greats, this Rainbow Rising. I mean, it's just, I think one of my all-time favorite albums of any band. It's just a brilliant album. It is power metal before there was power metal.
I don't have it.
It is the blueprint for what became power metal in especially in European power metal. I mean, anybody denies that there was heavy metal in the 70s never heard this album. And I know there's a lot of people out there now denying that. Got into an argument actually just last week with a guy who told me that Megadeth and Iron Maiden were really the first real metal bands. So
what?
Yeah.
But was he born like yesterday or something?
Yeah, there's a whole new wave of kids who don't get it. They that's just hard rock. Okay.
Are those the same people that think that the Metallica Black Album is their first album because it's self-titled?
Right.
I don't think that the guy I was arguing with at least wasn't that naive, but yeah, it's just they have it in their mindset that if it doesn't sound like, Slayer, if it's not as heavy as Slayer, it's not metal. But Slayer wasn't straightforward metal either. Slayer was a mix of metal and the speed and aggression of punk. Yep. You know what I mean? So
yep.
So whatever. But anyhow, back to Rainbow Rising. It's just, like I said, one of my all-time favorite albums. It's got one of the greatest bands of all time with Ronnie James Dio on vocals, got Kazi Powell on drums, you got Jimmy Bain on bass, who went on to play with all kinds of different people, including Dio during his early years. So and then who's on keyboards? It wasn't that. Oh, Tony Carey was on keyboards too. So yeah, my number one, easy. It's an easy one for me. That wasn't even I didn't even have to struggle with that one.
Harmless Rebel with the sniper shot there. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed. Carcass, what's your numero uno?
Mine. Oh, we're at number one already. Oh, well, it's already been mentioned. I can't deny the greatness of this record. There are several records in my collection that I have on a regular rotation, and this would be one of them. I mean, I like you said, every song on here, it's all killer, no filler, and I listen to this thing at least once a month, along with Lonesome Crow, and along with some UFO stuff. And man, this thing, like Scott described, it has some power, some power metal elements. It does have a little speed. I mean, Neon Nights, good grief. And then it's got the heavy kind of brooding Walk Away, Heaven and Hell, Die Young. Children of the Sea is just a powerful, powerful song. Lowly is the word. I mean, for a ballad, that thing is heavy as an anvil. The Wishing Well, and then Lady Evil. I mean, pick the worst song on the record. There is none. So that's why. And like you said, Rob, at the beginning, we're not really picking the quote unquote best album, but we're picking our favorite. And this by far is my favorite. but it's a toss up between all the 5 that I've presented already. But I can't deny the greatness of this record, and I finally found it. This is kind of a hard one to find on an original pressing, because most people I know that had it wore it the bleep out, and to find a good copy, the cover's a little beat up on mine, but the vinyl is still pristine, and I cherish this thing because
Yeah.
they're just hard to find. And mine's actually like a radio station promo copy, as you can tell, but a little stamp
that's
here.
cool.
But
That's because every party you went to in the '80s was spinning that record.
Right.
That's why they're tore up or have
And they
beer
would
stains on them, or
right. They would usually end up as a coaster for a can of your favorite cold beverage. But or it had burn marks or little flakes of
seeds inside of it.
Hippie lettuce. But anyway, but yeah, that's my number one. I like I said, in fact, funny that we decided to do this today, because I had this thing out and listened to it last week, and I just thought, man, I mean, it's pretty amazing. And you think about the era of music and all that was going on during that time, with but I just, it's brilliant. And these are the types of records that stand the test of time.
Agreed.
In another 20 years, we'll still be talking about this record. Another 40 years, we'll still be talking about. You remember the day when Black Sabbath added Ronnie James Dio, and then they still sounded amazing. So,
well, you'll be 125, so I don't know.
Yes, in 40 years, I will be not quite 125, but I'll be reaching triple digits for sure. Yeah, right.
Now, I do have an honorable mention.
Okay.
So do I. I grabbed one too.
An honorable mention. So I'll be interested to see what you guys think. My honorable mention that is one of my favorite metal moments of all time is the Hearing Aid project. I absolutely love the song. I know it's cheesy. I don't care.
I like the song too.
I know it's got 48 guitar solos in it. I don't
Which is
care.
awesome.
I used to be able to name every singer and every part of the guitar solo. I can't do that now, but I think I could get through the majority of it. Now, this is the actual record that it's a compilation album that includes the song Stars. And, it was for famine relief. It was the answer to Hearing Aid. Live Aid or whatever. It was kind of the metal community's version of that. I think I'm getting that right. Live Aid.
Yep.
And right. I've got the 12-inch single as well, but I wanted to get the album with the compilation because Ronnie produced this. He also coordinated everything, and you've got Accept and Dio, and there's a Hendrix tune on here, Kiss, Motorhead, Rush, Scorpions, Y&T. So it's a great compilation, but then good grief, look at the dudes singing on here. Vivian Campbell played on it, Vince sang on it, Rob Halford sang on it, Kevin Dubrow sang on it. I didn't realize how short Neil Sean is. You got Paul Shortino and Dio, and just, God, man, it just goes on and on with the singers and players on this thing. Jeff Tate, Eric Bloom from Blue Oyster Cult, Mick Mars,
Yngwie Malmsteen,
God,
Ted Nugent was on there too.
Yep. Terrible Ted in the top row. But yeah, I thought this was really cool. I just remember the vibe around this. I remember watching the video and stuff. Maybe I had a home video of it. I don't know. But so that's my honorable mention for stuff that Dio sang on.
Well, my honorable mention is the one I've shown like 16 times already. But I love this live album. This is the live at Radio City. Both the live albums, Heaven and Hell, were great. But you know what really did it for me was when I saw them on this tour playing and they did the song I was like, my gosh, that is a heavy, heavy song.
Yep.
And I like Dehumanizer, but it never quite clicked with me as well as the first two he did with Sabbath. I thought the production was really sterile, and I think that's what kind of took away from it. Didn't have that warm, heavy production that Martin Birch gave those first two albums. But after hearing him play I live, I loved Dehumanizer after that. But the version on here of I is so freaking heavy. It's just mind-blowingly heavy.
Well, I remember I was so late to the party on seeing Iommi live. That was the first time I saw him live, and I had a front row seat, and I was right in front of his monitors, and he walked out, and I was completely starstruck, completely in awe. And I remember they started the first few chords of whatever song they opened with, and Tony looked over at Ronnie and just gave him the whoo, because they were just killing it, man. And they had this big smiling moment, and that was my first, within the first few seconds of me seeing Tony Iommi play ever. And I'd seen Dio once or twice before that. But
I want to show this real quick too.
Yeah,
This is a new pickup for me, but I found a white label radio promo of Starstruck.
Oh wow.
Mono and stereo, and it was even out. If you look closely, you can see it's got the little, somebody wrote on there the time of the song and how long the intro was, so the DJ could talk for a few seconds. So awesome. I thought that was superb in the original Polydor sleeve. So yeah, I've just never seen one before. There's actually one on eBay right now, but they want like $60 for it. I think I didn't pay anywhere close to that. So I just thought that was a really cool pickup. So anyhow,
yeah, that's awesome, man.
How about you, Carcass?
Well, I didn't pull it, but Black Sabbath Dehumanizer, you said it, and for the very same reason, I mean, yes, I don't think Dio wanted any part of that. In fact, I heard that he tried to not even be in the credits, but I really like that record, and I think if you give it a second chance, Scott, and EQ it up a little bit, kind of manipulate the sound and not just play it straight through your stereo, I think you'll probably find that you really do dig it.
I do. I love it now. It was just that hearing it live, it was what really got me to love it so much.
Well, and we kind of in fact, we had talked about that, and maybe moving forward into our next episode about production and how the value of if something, for example, was released with bad production, we hear it live, and then somehow we translate the better version to that bad production, and we don't hear the bad production quite as much, but we can talk about that next week.
Yeah, maybe. We'll tease that on the way out.
And Fraser keeps asking about Elf. I mean, I love Elf.
I do too.
It didn't make my top 10 even, but I mean, it was a critical part of his development. I mean, he had gone from being basically a Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra style crooner, and then got into rock and roll. And I mean, those two Elf albums are powerful. I mean, they're great.
That's why.
Was there 3 Elf albums? I thought I had 3 Elf albums.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe I think, was there an EP and then
I'm looking at it real quick
okay.
Yeah, so that's why I keep putting Mini Naked Ronnie on the screen, is because on that Elf album, that's him as the Elf. He's out there.
That's it. Yeah, there was 3. So there was the self-titled Elf there, which was 72. 74 was LA/59. There was 2 different names for it. And number 75 was Trying to Burn the Sun.
Oh, okay. I forgot about that one.
Yeah. But in any case, yeah, I like Elf 2 a lot, but to put him in my top 5 above Sabbath or Rainbow or those first couple. I also agree with Harmless Rebel, where I don't know where it's at. But I think that the album he stated was, where's that thing at? I'm looking for it now. He was talking about one of the albums that was very underrated. There it is. I'm gonna throw it up since I can. Number 1 for me was Strange Highways, one of the most underrated metal albums of all time. Jesus, Mary, and the Holy Ghost is one of my all-time favorite songs. I think it's a great album too. Now that's a different era for Dio. That was a Tracy G era, and a lot of people didn't like Tracy G and Dio. He was a different style. He wasn't flashy and like most Dio guitar players were. He was a bit more straightforward, but he was a great guitar player. It's funny because he came out of a band that was total like thrash crossover punk playing Dio, but still.
I think that more than anything just proves he was actually a good player. When guys can do that crossover thing, it's kind of like, and I don't want to steer this away from Dio, but like Satriani, I think that guy can do anything. He can play any type of music because he's just that good. I mean, he even engineered and recorded one of the Possessed EP, the third EP, or the third thing that they put out. But to your point, Scott, I think that guy could play anything. So whether he was playing with a punk band or a thrash band, and now okay, it's just Dio. I'll just change my tuning and my setup, and then I'll be able to do that too because he's that good. So anyway,
so I want to completely address the Mini Naked Ronnie thing. In the documentary movie that came out recently that I can't think of the name of right now, Dreamers Never Die, I think. My brother and I went and saw it in the theater. It was awesome. They spend a good bit of time talking about Elf, and one of the things that they referred to was Mini Naked Ronnie being on the cover of that Elf album, and my brother and I cannot let that go. There is also a very funny part in that movie where they're recording this song and Ronnie goofs on Don Dokken. You have to see the documentary. I will buy it the day it comes out. If nothing else, to watch him goof on one of my favorite singers, by the way. He messes with Don Dokken, and it's pretty funny. So, yeah, that's it. That's all I've got, boys. What else? Any parting shots?
well, I was gonna say if anybody can, see, to me, a good smack talker is actually really, kind of like Muhammad Ali. I mean, the guy talked a lot of junk, but yet he could deliver the goods. So the fact that if Ronnie James Dio were giving me grief about my vocal patterns and whatever, I would consider that more of a compliment that he would pick me out.
Yeah.
But so I hope Don didn't take it personally because, I mean, to get razzed by Dio would probably be an honor more than a boon.
Well, I can tell you, Dio was one of those guys that I had always wanted to meet, and I'd seen him live so many times, but I never got the chance. And I heard you have a story about not seeing him.
So I went and saw Judas Priest in Heaven and Hell. That was now I guess I saw him from the front row twice. It's because I had a front row or second row seat for Judas Priest as well. Well, anyway, I bought the meet and greet. The only time I've ever bought the big meet and greet package. So you had a choice when you bought the ticket. You could meet Judas Priest, or you could meet Heaven and Hell. I think I've told this story on the show before, but I don't remember. And I chose to meet Priest. They had that Nostradamus set out, that big box set they did, and I took it to get signed. And there was a little VIP party before the show, and then you got to go spend your 60 seconds with the band to get your picture and whatnot. And it was cool. I don't regret meeting Priest, but the thing I do regret was I really wish that I'd had the chance to do it again, because I would have gone to meet the Heaven and Hell guys. So that would have been my opportunity to meet and get a picture, albeit a 60-second interaction with Dio and Tony Iommi. Like I said, I don't regret my choice because hindsight's 2020. But man, it hurts to miss that one because, he was gone just a few years after that, and I never got the chance to run into him or anything. Not that I would have had the chance, but it would have been cool to have met Ronnie Dio before he passed away. So that's my near miss of Dio's story.
And I've never heard anybody say anything negative about him as far as, meeting fans. Like it always seemed like he was very nice about meeting fans, always very gracious to the fans. I've heard a lot of people that met him, and I've never heard a negative story. I mean, I've heard other negative stories about Ronnie from like musicians that were like in battles with him. Vivian Campbell's made some stories, but as far as fans go, it seems like he was always very appreciative of his fans, which I could definitely appreciate myself.
Somebody, I don't remember what rock star it was, they were talking to him about fame, just being famous and how taxing it was. And his advice to whoever this was, I wish I could remember who it was he was talking to, but what he told the guy was, always be nice to your fans, always, no matter what the circumstance, because you're not going to remember them because there's so many, you're not going to remember them, but they are always going to remember you and that moment for the rest of their lives. And I just think that's a great rule to live by. You know, you're not going to remember them, but they're always going to remember you. So just be nice.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's the way I always, even like when I was in my own band, people would come for autographs. I never turned anybody away. So get away from me. I don't have time for you. I mean, I had that happen to me several times. I knew how it made me feel. So when anybody ever asked me for an autograph in my band, I always signed it because I was like, I just know how it feels to be rejected by someone that you know, somebody whose music you respect. So
yeah, I've met some dicks.
Yeah, I have too.
Yeah, I've met some dick rock stars, and yeah, I don't remember them fondly. But so let's tease the show for next week. We're at 6 o'clock.
Did any of them leave a sour taste in your mouth?
What's that?
Did any of them leave a sour taste in your mouth?
Do we want to name names?
I know what you're doing.
No.
I know what you're doing.
I'm baiting him. Yep.
I know what you're doing. Oh, I can't wait. I can't say anything. Scott knows, but I can't wait to talk about what you're trying to bait me into in the next few weeks. Anyway, I'm not doing it. We'll get there when the time comes. So we never tease our show, and I'll tell you why. It's because we're unprepared. We never, ever know what we're going to talk about a week in advance. Sometimes the day of, we don't know what we're going to talk about. We didn't talk about this until 1 or 2 this afternoon.
Yep.
On a little 3-way call real quick. And so we are literally unscripted, unrehearsed, unprepared, unedited. But we are going to tease ahead to next week for 156. We are going to do our first Battle Royale. Carcass, take us in.
Well, so in the process of moving Steph and her kids to their new place,
we decided to do a battle of hymns between Godly and Cream and 10cc.
No, please, let's not do that. We will lose listenership quicker than fast. But anyway, the Bonded by Blood by Exodus was put into we were trying to experiment and get some sound quality right with the TV and the new the surround sound bar and all this type of thing. And one of the kids discovered that you could actually play CDs on a DVD player. So they popped in Bonded by Blood by Exodus. And honestly, I had never, it had been so long since I heard that record, but that thing really, really rips. And it got me thinking, who is the real Bay Area thrash kings? And of course, there's always Death Angel, Testament, Violence, and then Metallica keeps in Exodus, and Metallica keeps getting thrown in there. And I know Metallica is wildly popular, and I know Metallica is.
Don't do the show.
Okay, but Exodus versus Metallica next week. Be there, because I personally think that one of them is going to kick the other one's backside 9 ways from Sunday. And I think that you might know who that is because of my previous opinions. But tune in next week. Bring your opinion with you. We're going to go album for album and stack them up and rack them up. And we're going to see who comes out the king of thrash metal.
Metallica versus Exodus. Next week.
And then the week after that, we're going to be doing Godly and Cream versus.
No, we're
10cc.
not, Scott. We're not. We will change the rights to the station, and all of a sudden you will have no rights to get on.
What? No 10cc fans here? Or what? Jeez.
I love 10cc, but not against Godly and Cream. No.
All right, boys. That is it for episode 155. You can follow me on Instagram at IamMetalRob, although I don't do shit there. I'm very easy to find on Facebook. Scott is on YouTube. Just look up Scott Waters. Carcass is on Instagram at CarcassJohnArt, and you can find him now. He may or may not let you through the gate, but you can find him on there. And also go to anchormerchandising.com if you want a shirt, a cup, a koozie, a mug, a t-shirt, a freaking banner. They got all kinds of.
We have buttons too. Hit us up.
Yeah.
So yeah, check that out. And
Yeah, we have all the merch that a band, say like Ozark Tentacles, would have on their
oh, God,
website.
we almost made it.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks,
thanks for the
Fraser.
reminder. Thanks, Fraser. Thanks for the reminder.
Damn it, Fraser, this is your fault.
It is Fraser's fault.
Shit.
He
Optical
should take full
tentacle.
responsibility.
Damn it.
Optical
Fraser.
tentacle. I like it.
All right, next time I see you, Chief. Well, that's it for episode 155. We're out. You know how we do it. Oh crap! I gotta get the banner off of there because it won't do right. You know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
You know how we do it. Until next time, metal
Metal
will
will prevail.